My husband's ex-wife made a surprise appearance at our son's birthday party, and while I was cutting the cake, he was eating his two in between her legs behind my back. Now, he's blaming his own son for him not being able to keep his pants closed. Posted by you/majestic_designer781. My husband, 37M, and I, 27M, have been married for 3 years, dating for 6. He has an ex-wife, 37F, which he divorced a year before we met. We have a son, 7M, who was adopted after we got married and who I love as my own child, because he is. I know my husband Peter is bi, and I'm okay with that. I also had no problem with his ex-wife, Allison. What I did have a problem with was his family. They're a bit homophobic and always tell Peter he should get back with Allison. 2 weeks ago, we went to his family's town for my son Jack's birthday. We wanted to spend it with family. My mother-in-law thought it would be a good idea to invite Allison, so she showed up in the middle of the party. I didn't want to ruin Jack's birthday, so I stayed quiet and focused on Jack. I played with him and his cousins, just like he asked. When it was time to cut the cake, I noticed Peter and Allison were missing. I went inside to look for them and found them in Peter's old bedroom, taking off their clothes. I froze for a moment, but then I turned around and went back to the party. Part of me wanted to scream and cry, but I was in shock. I refused to make Jack's birthday about me. We cut the cake, opened presents, and people started leaving. That's when Peter and Allison came back. Peter pulled me aside, saying I shouldn't have cut the cake without him, that it was disrespectful. I just looked at him and said, "I'm sorry, I thought you'd be too busy getting into your ex-wife's pants." He went quiet. I took Jack and left for the hotel. After I got Jack to sleep, I locked myself in the bathroom and broke down. I called a friend, who tried to comfort me. I finally calmed down in the morning when I took Jack to breakfast. I didn't want him to see me upset. Now, I'm sitting here watching him play in the park. I don't want him to suffer. I don't want him to have a broken family or to think relationships aren't a happily ever after. Peter's been calling and texting, apologizing for everything. I'm tempted to forgive him. I just want my family back. My friends are saying it was just a mistake, that he was vulnerable, and that Allison is his ex-wife. So what am I supposed to do now? I need advice from people who don't know us personally. Relevant comments. Teach your son that his future partners have to respect him in their relationship by not being a cheating jerk. OP, I do want to teach him these things, but he's too young. I'm scared he'll get a bad view of relationships if he sees his parents divorce. Op on collecting evidence of her husband's cheating and if this has happened before. From what I've gathered from messages and calls, it's happened twice, including the time I caught them. I hadn't thought about STIs, so thank you, I'll get tested. Op responds to comments about her husband not respecting her and how the cheating wasn't the first time. It's not the first time. I found out it was the second, but I don't want my son to know. He's unaware and happy, thinking his dads will be together forever. I don't want to break that illusion. Why didn't you interrupt your husband's cheating with the ex? OP, I was too shocked and hurt by what I saw. I just stood there without them noticing me. Then I heard my son and, without thinking, I focused only on him. Maybe it was a coping mechanism. I don't know, I was mostly on autopilot. Commenter. You should leave. It won't be easy, but if you stay, you'll show Jack it's okay for a partner to treat you badly. If you want him to believe in happily ever after, show him that it's okay not to settle. Teach him to work hard for his goals with kindness, honesty, and integrity. Kids are more impressionable than we realize. I've seen so many families where the person being hurt didn't walk away, and that hurt spread until it damaged everyone. And for your own safety, staying with a cheater puts you in danger. You don't know who they're sleeping with or what STIs they might have. So think about your son, think about your health, and leave. If you're surrounded by people telling you to forgive and forget, those people might not be safe to have around. You don't know if they've been hiding this from you too. Update 1 day later. First of all, I want to thank you all for your advice. I need to explain a few things before the actual update. Thank you for opening my eyes about my situation. Peter and Allison didn't notice me when I saw them. The music was very loud downstairs, and they weren't facing the door. I didn't stop them because I was in shock. I just stood there for a moment, and then I heard my son, so I unconsciously focused on him. I was pretty much on autopilot. Peter didn't come to the hotel with me because I changed to a different one. He tried to follow me, but I took a taxi and left. As far as I know, he's staying with his parents, and Allison left. We met when I was 20 and he was 30. We started as friends, and we ended up dating. Yes, we're both men, and no, I didn't feel manipulated or groomed by him. Those were the most asked questions, and I did answer some comments, not all. Now on to the update. I did what some of you suggested and took tests to rule out any STIs or STDs. The results are coming back in a few days, and I will take another one in 3 weeks to be sure. My son is having a sleepover with a friend, so I decided to speak with my husband. He came by our house a few minutes after I texted him. He asked about Jack, and I told him where he was. Then we sat on the couch and started talking. I started crying after a few minutes, and he followed after. I asked some simple questions like when? Why? How many times? Here's what I figured out from what he said. It happened for the first time when he visited his parents alone 2 years ago. They invited her, they both got drunk, and he was feeling lonely because I had been paying more attention to Jack since we adopted him. They slept together. Nothing happened again until our son's birthday party. He said his mother pressured him a bit, and he caved in. I don't believe he did it for that reason, but I don't know. He said he doesn't love her, and I believe him, but that doesn't change what he did. After talking for a while, I told him I wanted a divorce. He started sobbing and begging for another chance, but I told him I can't give him another chance because I wouldn't be able to trust him again. I don't want that in a relationship. He kept crying and begging for another 30 minutes until I told him we have to think about Jack and his well-being. We could stay friends and co-parent him. He got really mad. He started yelling that it was all Jack's fault, that we shouldn't have adopted him, and that he's the one getting between us. I was crying and really scared. I had never seen him this angry. He hit the table and stormed out of the house. I called the house where Jack is staying and told them that if Peter shows up there, they can't open the door. After that little episode, I was scared Peter would try to hurt Jack. I called my friend Thomas again and told him everything that happened. He came by and is staying with me until I'm better. Right now, I'm trying to figure out what to do and how to move forward with the divorce. Relevant comments. Commenter, you are absolutely not wrong for not forgiving your husband. His reaction to the news of divorce and blaming your adopted son is alarming. It shows his true colors. Stay strong and prioritize your and Jack's safety. Commenter 2, sorry you are going through this. On the bright side, it seems you will have no problem getting full custody. It is better to have one loving parent than two co-parents where one resents you for merely existing. Commenter 3, I can't believe he is taking no accountability for his actions and blaming your completely innocent son. Every time you start missing your soon-to-be ex, I want you to remember what he said about your son. It will be painful, but it will strengthen your heart and mind to move on from that toxic man. You are definitely not the bad guy. Keep striving for a healthy, happy new relationship for you and your son. Update 2, 11 days later. It's been a chaotic week, and I'm pretty shaken up, but I'll try to summarize it. My husband has been showing up at my work, following me, and calling me from burner phones. I was afraid he'd go after Jack, like many of you said he would, but he didn't. He said a lot of things, but I'll focus on the important ones. He said he missed when it was just us. He claimed I stopped paying attention to him when we adopted Jack and that I wasn't his anymore. He said he missed how dependent I was on him. I was very insecure when we met, but I started working on my issues after we adopted Jack because I didn't want to be a bad example for him. When we got married, I used to get sick all the time. I was weak and tired, so he took care of me 24/7. The doctors couldn't tell what was wrong with me, and I didn't get better until a bit after we adopted Jack. I guess that dependence is what he missed? Yesterday, he followed me to work and started screaming that I was his and that we made vows to stay together. We had to call security, and he waited for me next to my car. I panicked and took a taxi home. He keeps messaging me and showing up at our house. I took a few weeks off work to be with Jack, although he's handling this better than I am. I made an appointment with a therapist for him, and when the divorce is finalized, I'll go to one myself. I've been debating what to do, so I'll update when something happens. Relevant comment. It's good that you're prioritizing Jack and your own mental health by seeing a therapist. You deserve to feel safe and supported. It's wild how some people can't handle change, right? Your husband seems to be stuck in the past, and it's not fair to you or Jack. Just remember, you're doing what's best for both of you, and that's what truly matters.